Welcome to another deep dive. Today, we're maybe challenging some ideas you might have about managing people, that gut instinct. We all rely on it. But is it really the best way, the only way, to build a great team? Well, get ready to maybe look beyond that. We're going to explore how top companies think Google, Best Buy, Cisco aren't just hiring smart. They're managing smarter. They're using data, sophisticated data, to find insights that, intuition often just misses.
That's exactly right. I mean, imagine really knowing, why your best performer might be thinking about leaving next month. Or, get this, how something as simple as a smile from your front desk team could actually link directly to higher revenue. This deep dive is all about unpacking that power, the surprising power of talent analytics. It's about using employee data for a genuine competitive edge, one that's tough to copy.
It really sounds like a game changer. So, our mission today. Walk through the 6 levels of talent analytics. We'll start with the basics, those sort of health checks for your workforce data. And we'll go all the way up to these advanced talent supply chains, apparently so precise. Your morning coffee machine seem, kind of clunky. We'll look at who's doing it well, where companies sometimes mess it up. And maybe the big one, how do you use all this data without, treating your people like spreadsheets? So buckle up. This isn't just dry HR talk. It's business, it's brains, it's behavioral insights. Okay, so to really get our heads around this, where did this shift even come from? Why move away from traditional HR towards this sophisticated people analytics stuff?
Well, it's interesting. Companies today, they just want more from their talent. Different things, too. And the big enabler, it's the sheer amount of digital trails we all leave. Emails, project files, internal social networks, all that data makes this kind of deep analysis possible. It's almost imperative now. And companies are already getting some amazing insights, turning soft stuff into hard value. Take Harrah's Entertainment. They're famous for analyzing customer value, right? Well, they applied that same thinking to their employees, using data to put the right people in the right jobs. They even figured out the optimal number of front desk staff by mixing customer wait times, transaction data, employee shifts into predictive models. And get this, they looked at their health programs, found more preventative care visits meant millions saved in urgent care costs, but also, and this is key, it boosted employee engagement, which, you guessed it, helped revenue.
Wow. That flips the script, doesn't it? Seeing wellness not just as a cost, but as a revenue driver. And what gets me is how precise some companies have become. You mentioned Best Buy, Starbucks, limited brands. They've actually put a number on engagement increases.
They have. Best Buy, for example, found that just a tiny 0.1% increase in employee engagement was worth over $100,000 in a single store's annual operating income.
$100,000?
Yeah.
For a 0.1%?
Yep. It totally reframes HR, doesn't it? Makes it a strategic profit center.
Absolutely. It's not just about managing costs anymore.
Exactly. And it goes way beyond just engagement. Look at AT&T and Google.
Yeah.
They dug into years of performance data, project work, and found that demonstrating initiative, taking the lead, that was a much better predictor of high performance than, say, having top grades.
That really makes you rethink hiring criteria, doesn't it?
It really does. Meanwhile, Sprint built this early warning system for attrition. They found factors like employees not signing up for the company retirement program could actually predict who might leave.
That's incredibly specific. Just not signing up for the 401k.
Seems small, but the data showed a pattern. And it's not just huge corporations doing this stuff. AC Milan, the soccer team, they have a whole biomedical research unit. They collect something like 60,000 data points per player, health, fitness, and that data directly feeds into decisions about contracts, big money decisions.
60,000 data points per player. Makes you wonder what data your company tracks for its most valuable assets, right?
Exactly. And it spans industries. Ketchum, the PR firm, their London office analyzed personal networks, just mapping out who talks to whom to see how information flows between teams. And Cognizant, the professional services firm, found something cool too. Employees who were active on internal social media, like writing blog posts, they were more engaged, happier, and actually performed about 10% better.
Huh. So maybe those internal blogs aren't such a distraction after all. That's a good question for everyone listening. What digital trails are you leaving? What might they say? Okay, so clearly, companies are getting serious. You mentioned 6 levels of talent analytics. A journey, sort of.
Yeah.
Going from basic facts to real-time stuff. Let's start at the beginning. Where do companies dip their toes in?
Right. The very first step, level 1, is what we call human capital facts. It sounds simple, but it's crucial. It's about getting everyone on the same page with the basic numbers. A single version of the truth for things like headcount, turnover, performance metrics, consistent data across the whole company. JetBlue is a good example. They created a crew member net promoter score.
Like the customer NPS, but for employees.
Exactly. They track it monthly, see how compensation changes affect it, and importantly, they tie it to executive bonuses. Plus, they're really open with employees about how and why they collect that data.
That transparency must be key for getting buy-in. Okay, so you've got the basic facts straight. What's next? How do you get deeper insights?
That leads to level 2, analytical HR. This is where you start slicing and dicing that basic data. You segment it, maybe look at specific departments or roles to find more specific insights than just the company-wide average. Lockheed Martin, for instance, they built an automated performance management system. It doesn't just track performance, it explicitly links what each employee does to the bigger company goals.
So you can see the connection more clearly.
Precisely. And that lets them spot high potential folks for special programs or identify people who might need more support proactively. It's about using those facts to dig deeper.
Okay, so level 1 is the what. Level 2 is starting to look at who and where. How do we get to understanding the actual impact and maybe even predicting things?
Right. That takes us to level 3, human capital investment analysis. This is where you really try to figure out which actions, which talent initiatives have the biggest business impact. Cisco, the food service giant, did a lot of work here. They analyzed work climate, satisfaction, productivity, retention across all their different units. And the results were stark. Units with happier employees, consistently higher revenue, lower costs, better retention, and more loyal customers.
Wow. So happy employees really do equal happy customers and better profits.
The data proved it, and they put a number on it. They boosted retention for their delivery associates from 65% up to 85% over 6 years. That saved them nearly $50 million in hiring and training costs alone.
$50 million.
Wow.
Just from keeping delivery drivers happier.
Exactly. It shows that investing in your people isn't soft stuff. It's a hard-nosed business strategy with massive ROI.
That really drives home the investment part of that level's name.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can measure the impact. What's the next logical step? Predicting things.
Precisely. Level 4, workforce forecasts. This is about using all that historical data, turnover trends, succession plans, what you know about upcoming business needs, to predict future talent gaps or surpluses way before they become a crisis. Dow Chemical is a good case study. They use a custom modeling tool. It forecasts their headcount needs globally, broken down by job type and level.
So they can see potential problems coming.
Yeah, and they can run what-if scenarios, like what if promotions slow down? What if there's a political shift affecting a region? It lets them plan proactively, staff up growth areas, figure out how to handle knowledge loss from retirement. It's about getting ahead of the curve instead of just reacting.
Being proactive instead of reactive sounds like the dream for HR and managers everywhere. So we're getting pretty advanced now. What are the top tiers? Levels 5 and 6.
Okay, level 5 is the talent value model. This tackles really strategic questions. The big one being, why do people actually choose to stay with us, or why do they leave? It's about modeling what employees value most so you can focus your efforts on retention effectively. Google's done fascinating work here. They use performance data not just to reward stars, but also to understand and support people at both ends of the performance spectrum.
Supporting low performers too. How so?
Well, their hypothesis was maybe low performers aren't bad employees, maybe they're just in the wrong role, or maybe they have a manager who isn't helping them succeed. And the data analysis actually backed that up. It led to specific interventions. They also did the famous Project Oxygen, remember, using data to find the 8 habits of highly effective Google managers and 5 things to avoid.
Right, I remember hearing about that.
But even with all that data, what Google found employees valued most, it came down to 3 core things: the company's mission, the quality of the people they worked with, and the opportunity to learn new skills. Deeply human stuff.
That's fascinating. Data reinforcing the importance of the human element.
Exactly. It shows data can illuminate what matters most, not just count things.
So it's not dehumanizing, it's actually humanizing in a way. Okay, what's the absolute cutting edge? Level 6.
Level 6, talent supply chain. This is the most complex level, and honestly, it's still pretty new for most places. But the idea is to enable almost real-time talent decisions. Think about a retail call center, using analytics to predict call volume almost minute by minute, and then maybe allowing hourly staff to adjust their shifts dynamically, leave early if volume drops, maybe pick up extra time if it spikes. optimizing resources on the fly.
Wow, like managing people with the same precision as inventory?
Kind of, yeah. It's most common in places like retail and call centers where demand fluctuates rapidly. Early results are promising, but it's definitely operating talent like a highly responsive supply chain.
Incredible stuff. So, okay, that's the journey through the 6 levels. But
Yeah.
how does a company actually do this? It sounds like a massive undertaking.
It can be, yeah, but there's a helpful framework called Delta. It breaks it down into 5 key things you need. D is for data. You need good quality, relevant data. Sometimes you even need to create new metrics. Remember Harrah's? They actually had managers observe and record how often front desk staff smiled.
Seriously, they measured smiles.
Yep, because they found it correlated strongly with customer satisfaction scores. The point is, data doesn't need to be absolutely perfect, just good enough to spot trends and make better decisions.
Okay, don't let perfection be the enemy of good data. Got it. What's E? Enterprise.
Exactly. Enterprise. Meaning this data can't just live in an HR silo. It needs to be integrated and accessible across the business. When companies like Best Buy saw that clear link between employee satisfaction and company performance.
The 100K per 0.1% thing.
Right. That discovery made them realize this data was critical for operations, not just HR. So they started doing engagement surveys quarterly, not annually, to get that data into planning cycles faster.
Makes sense. Integrate it. Okay, L must be leadership, right?
Yeah.
You need buy-in from the top.
Oh, absolutely. Leadership commitment is probably the single most critical factor. Leaders have to constantly push for decisions based on facts, challenge the "we've always done it this way" thinking. They need to foster a culture where it's okay to experiment and look at the data. Someone at Comcast, Bill Strahan, made a great point. He said you have to pitch the analytics case using the company's language. Focus on business pressures, the people side of change, not just abstract HR jargon.
Speak the language of the business, not just HR. Good tip. What about T, targets?
Right. Targets. You need to pick realistic, relevant goals for your analytics efforts, things that actually matter to the business right now. Think about Google again. When they were hiring like crazy, 100 people a week,
Wow.
their analytics focus was all on making hiring faster and better. But when growth slowed, they shifted focus to understanding attrition and manager effectiveness. Your targets have to evolve.
Adapt your focus. Makes
Yeah.
sense. And the last one, A, that must be analysts, the people who actually do the work.
Yep, analysts. This isn't just about software. You need the right people. People skilled in quantitative methods, sure, but also psychometrics, the science of measuring psychological traits. And HR systems, employment law. Industrial organizational psychologists are particularly valuable here. They're experts in applying psychology to the workplace.
So data scientists meet HR experts, meet psychologists.
Pretty much. Harrah's used organizational psychologists brilliantly. They created predictive hiring tools. Sometimes managers got attached to candidates who the data said wouldn't succeed. The analysts didn't just show charts. They used randomized trials to prove the analytical approach worked better. And they used their people skills to persuade the managers. It led to huge sales improvement.
So it's that blend, again, hard data and human skills to actually make it stick.
Right.
Okay, now the really crucial part. How do you do all this analytic stuff without, like you said, treating people like they're just widgets or numbers on a spreadsheet? What are the big mistakes people make?
Yeah, this is where things can go wrong if you're not careful. Data is powerful, but you absolutely cannot lose sight of the human element, the ethics. A huge pitfall is using analytics as an excuse to treat people like they're interchangeable, forgetting individuality. Another common one is just keeping a metric going forever, even if it doesn't serve a real business purpose anymore. Or relying on just 1 or 2 simple metrics, smart employees will figure out how to game the system.
Right, measurement can change behavior, not always for the better.
Exactly. And then there's the paralysis trap. Insisting data must be 100% perfect before you act on it. You'll never do anything.
So aim for good enough data to make a decision. Don't wait for perfection.
Ugh.
What other traps are there?
Well, relying only on simple stuff like grades or test scores, we know those often don't predict job success very well. Another big one, applying analytics rigorously to frontline staff, but completely ignoring it for senior management. It has to apply fairly across the board.
Good point. Double standards.
Yeah. And failing to update your analysis when company priorities shift, you end up analyzing yesterday's problems. Also, ignoring important aspects of performance just because they're hard to quantify. And finally, focusing only on HR efficiency metrics like cost per hire instead of measuring the actual impact of talent on the business's success. The goal, always, should be to enhance understanding and decision-making about people, your most valuable asset, not to reduce them to numbers.
That's such a critical distinction. What an amazing journey through this world of talent analytics. It really feels like it has the potential to completely change how organizations understand, manage, and, importantly, empower their people, moving beyond just gut feel.
It really does. And the companies that get this right, that genuinely use data for human capital insights, they're building a competitive advantage that's really, really hard for others to copy. But it's crucial to remember this point. We haven't seen any organization successfully go analytics only. You can't manage people purely by numbers. However, the best organizations, they manage to see their people both as individuals and as a rich source of collective data. Data that helps managers make much smarter, more insightful decisions about talent.
That's a really powerful closing thought. Seeing people as both individuals and collective data, it makes you think, doesn't it? For everyone listening, think about your own team, your own organization. What collective data might be sitting there right now? What could you learn if you started asking different questions, looking beyond just instinct, something to mull over?